Hi, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Noah. Look at these amazing people. Come on in. Christopher Pan, Michael. Hi. Sarah. Hello, everyone. As everyone hops in here, please let me know where you're calling in from. Good to see all of you guys. Love it. Love all these people. And here we go. James. Yay.
Hey.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
You too.
So here we are.
Here we are. We're talking about money today.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not that.
I hope all of you guys heard that, because all of you guys probably have the same reaction. Although it's surprising to me how many people emailed me and were like, oh, I can't make it. Is there going to be a recording? I really want to hear what you have to say. And I was just like, oh, look at these good kids, They want to learn about money, Money. Okay. So hi, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Valorie Hubbard. I think everyone knows me, but James, introduce yourself. I'm just saying.
I'm James Hallett. We do a monthly webinar. Valorie and I were both professional actors. I'm also an acting coach. And I also work with the imagination and dreams, help people get unstuck when they're stuck. And I just had a client book like a top of show guest star. And I don't want to say the name because she hasn't announced it, but it's just, it's so great. And now here's the tricky thing, right? She booked top of show guest star, and the immediate thing that she asked me was, she was like, I'm concerned that that they sent me the wrong contract info, right? Because they said I'm top of show guest star and that's this much money, but right now here's the thing, right? Because we're launching into this topic
about money,
right? And I said to her, your job right now is to go and do the best work you can do, and it's actually, this is where, because we talk a lot about agents and managers, and right, and this is where an agent, this is their job.
Yes.
It's their job to negotiate the best contract for us.
Yes.
And when we booked a job and we're about, like, because with TV, like you book a job and you're going, right? Like it happens so fast.
Yeah.
And I said to her, right now, enjoy the fact that you booked this.
Yes.
Sink your teeth into it, have fun. This is the time where you get to play. It's your agent's job to make sure the contract is right, to make sure you get the money that's the best amount that you can. And, and right, so here's this thing, is like in that moment of booking the job, knowing she's about to get it, her mind immediately went to the panic around money.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like this is real, right? This is real. We work so hard, we spend so much money, we put so much time into this and energy into it, and the money thing is tricky. And so that's my opening salvo into the conversation. It's very real, right? Like money, we have to have a healthy relationship to money, and it's not always easy. We don't all come from families where money is easy. My dad was not a money is easy guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Great advice you gave to her. All right. So I'm going to talk about, let's talk about our journey with money. And man, it's been a journey, for me. And I think one of the most important things that I've learned about money and just in general about you pursuing your acting career and getting what you want is that a little at a time is better than nothing. So one layer of onion at a time, like you're not going to get to the top of Mount Everest right away. And we were talking about this on the mastermind on Tuesday about how we get stuck in this overwhelm of like, oh my God, I want to get there, but I'm here. And so it sticks us from doing anything. And so I saw a video on TikTok about this guy, and he said this guy who was talking about how do you get the things in your life that you don't have and that you want. And he said, draw a circle. I was just watching this. He said, draw a circle, and in that circle, put everything that you have in your life. You know, like an apartment in Brooklyn, like I'm just saying for you, a happy marriage, right? Like, right. So all the things, different ways to make money, clients that love you, like you put all those things in and then draw another circle and put all the things in it that you don't have, right? That you want, right? And he said, what is the difference between the two of them? And he said, it's comfort zone. And so getting the things that you want requires you to get uncomfortable, right? And money, the lesson of money can be in the beginning very uncomfortable. So I told all the clients a story that the other day I did some work on money. I've been watching all these classes, right? I've been my stand for 2023 is to become a financial genius. So I've been watching all of these money videos and learning and doing all these new things. And I've stayed consistent with it. And we're already almost to May, which is pretty good because most of us give up on our resolutions like by January. And so for me to still be at this, it's like the year that you started flossing and you flossed every day and you were so proud of yourself because like we all start stuff and then we don't complete it, right? And so when we do follow through with something, even when it's uncomfortable, it's like a huge win. And for me, it's been a huge win. So I sat down with these and I actually had fun, James, like
That's
watching
awesome.
money videos. And I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe it's like getting easier. And I wrote some new mantras for myself, which I put down. So here's the new mantras. Making money is easy. I can make more without working more. Because I have that one. Oh, you have to work really hard. I don't have the energy. I don't want to work that hard. There is plenty of money to go around.
Yes.
I can make more money than I have ever made before. I can make more and still do what I love. So I wrote those out and I put them on my little goal thing. These are my goals, right? For the year. I know what those are, but for now I'm looking at these because that's my main thing is to become a financial genius.
Well, I want to take a second to acknowledge you around this because you and I both we come from a place of one being professional actors, right? So we're talking to the community from that place of really being present with them, and two, like when it comes to money, I'll speak for myself in a second, but you have done an incredible job of tackling an issue that was pretty scary. And I know this over time, and it's like really transforming this. I'm hearing you say that you're watching all the stuff and that is such an enormous accomplishment, Val. It's awesome. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
It's really,
I set this thing for myself every week. It's called the money ritual. And I I wrote a financial vision for myself that for the next 10 years. I wrote down the reasons, 5 reasons why I'm doing this work financially. I also wrote down my boss money persona. So I wrote down that. And now these new mantras. And so I start my money ritual every week with lighting a candle, and reading the financial vision, reading the money mantras, reading the 5 reasons why I'm becoming a financial genius, and writing all that down. And then what I do is I track my money in my personal life, and I track it in my business life. I track in what I have coming in and what I have going out. And then I separate it into categories between wants and needs, and debt, wants, needs, debt, and savings. I also started automatic savings withdrawals in a higher yield interest savings account this year. So it's automatic. Right. I'm doing that. I'm also doing I'm beginning to learn investing. And I'm also learning budget. So I have set my first monthly budget was this month. And I think the most important thing for me is that we're already blowing. Like I set my things and then it's not, it's like Gilbert and I are having a weekly meeting, and I've gone over budget a couple of reasons. So it helps me to learn I don't need as much money there, but I need money there. And then, figuring out for when I set May's budget. And then I'm also going to be I set a lot of budgets for my company, but no one ever really taught me how to live within a budget. And so that's what I've been learning is how to live within a budget and how to function and how to make a company's budget and a household budget work. Right. And so that's what I've been. And it's the thing I've learned is it's all living and breathing, and I'm not a bad person.
You're not a bad person. And I, this Kaz in the chat said, we've been taught that money is evil. And I, that's definitely true. Well, I don't know that for me personally,
we all have a lot of different messages we get.
Yeah.
Money is evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money only comes if you work hard. Only bad people have money. All those things that we get messages about.
That's right. So I see it as really critical that we take time inside to identify what the story around money is for us, right?
Yes.
Because there is always a different story. There's
Yes.
always a different story possible.
Yes.
We're not stuck in a story. When I was really young, I was early 20s in Chicago as an actor. I was talking to at that time, a much older actor, probably younger than I am now, but he sat down with me and he said that he has done really well and really successfully in the industry, and that one of the things he learned early on was how to divide his money. And he said 70% of every check that he got would go into use for things that are now.
Yeah.
20% would go in short-term investment savings, and 10% would be long-term investment that he never touches. Now, it doesn't really matter what those numbers are. What matters is, and you talk a lot about systems, right?
Yeah.
We need to have a system.
Yeah.
And systems are not bad, right? It might sound scary that someone's going to control you out of a system, but systems aren't bad. It's just a way. It's a way of understanding something, and a way of deciding I'm going to approach this with this system. I'm going to approach this, And it sounds like you've done a great job of sort of breaking down the different things that create a system that works for you around this.
Yeah, I'm learning, it's and that is true. Of course, I wish that I would have learned this when I was younger, or really understood what it meant, because now I'm doing this when I'm older. I'm having to save a lot more than I would have if I'd saved consistently from the time I was young, right? And I would have saved consistently $100 a week, even. Right. And I think with actors, like, it is true that we get like chunks of change at one time. And so that's a problem. Right. And so I love this idea of like 70% for my life, 20% for short-term savings, right? Emergency fund, because we all needed an emergency fund when COVID hit. Right. And so emergency fund, they said that you should have 6 months of living expenses. And if you don't even know what your monthly nut is, like what you need to survive on a monthly basis, that's where you need to start. So you need to start with 1 month. And it doesn't, and I remember like I started with the month of November and I was like, well, it's Thanksgiving and it doesn't matter. It's like, you just need a snapshot of 1 month. Yes, you should be recording what comes in and what goes out every month and what your debt is. And if you have a lot of debt, I highly recommend undebt.it. Undebt.it. It's free. And you can put in all your credit cards or all your debt. You can put in what the interest rate is, and then it will give you, and what your monthly payment is, and then it will give you a payoff plan. For paying off your credit cards, which are really, really, really good. So this is the book that I started with when I started my money journey. You're a Badass at Making Money, which I've read and listened to, several times. It's a really good book that is great for us actors because it's written in everyday speak. It's not some mumble jumble math, hard to read money book. It's actually hilarious. She's got a great sense of humor. It's really fun read. And so I would highly recommend, if you have never investigated money or want to get started, start with this. The next thing that I would recommend that you do, which James just said, is write down, just journal as much as you can. What is your money story? Right? Like everything you remember. Like, did you get an allowance when you were a little kid? How did your parents feel about money? What do you remember your parents saying about money? Right? Like one thing I remember specifically was budget when we had to cut back. So my dad was an entrepreneur. So there were times where we had to cut back. And I always remember that was a bad thing, because my mom would stop getting her hair done or stop getting her nails done, or, doing things that she seemed to love, and she couldn't do those anymore because we had to cut back. Right. And so I think, like, for me, the word budget means like cut back. And it's, so for me, that was like a big aha, like writing that down, because that was something. So do a whole journaling exercise as to what is your money story. Yeah. That's where I would start.
That's great. That's really great. I think that's the it's definitely the key for all of us to begin to transform our relationship to money. What you're talking about, like that's a great story, right? So dad's a businessman. When money's tight, he cuts back, and suddenly you don't get to do the things you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's right. And so we can all imagine how that might play out, like around being told, well, you should really have a budget. You should really save your money. Right? Because all those things mean no more joy, no more self-care.
Yeah, no more self-care, no more.
Right? Which is actually like it's not true. It's not true because you can have joy and you can have self-care, but right. So it's not about real or not real. It's the emotional story that's pushing us a certain direction and distorting what is really possible. That's a great story. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like I remember that money, I was taught that money is very private,
Oh yeah.
that you don't talk about money. Like
Yeah.
money is very, very private. So for me, that was, I found myself hiding money, like hiding the conversation about money and not wanting to talk about it because I was really taught that you don't talk about it. Right. And the thing is, yeah, Bridget just said, yeah, money is private and nobody talks about it. Yeah, they don't, because, and then what happens is then we don't want to face it, right? We don't want to face it, right? Like one of the very first things that I learned in this whole, I feel like it's been like, because of my business, this journey around money has been like epic. Like it's been really heavy the last 6-7 years, you know? And one of the first things that, you know, I learned is like, look at your bank account, face the creditors, face the people that are, learn how to negotiate if you can't pay something.
So I'm going to add to the mix a little bit because the stuff everything you're saying is so real to me and true. The other thing is when you have a partner, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, when we have a partner, we're suddenly dealing with two mindsets around money.
Yes.
And we can like, it's a lot can happen in that dynamic. You know, sometimes the two can spiral together. It's like spiral out of control together.
Yeah.
Sometimes one is always trying to conserve and the other one's always trying to break free.
Yeah.
So in a partnership of, in intimate kind, we also need to sort of understand what the other person is going through. Because you might find that as you're working to learn and free yourself, the other person is pushing against that. And we need to find a way to.
There's a reason why most divorces and breakups are around money. Like, I would say that's the percentage of breakups is around money. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to quickly tell you. So my story is my dad was a minister. My dad was also taught business ethics, and so he came from a perspective of work should be good work in the world, never towards making money. Like the goal should never be making money. And of course that's really problematic because we live in a society where we actually need money as adults, we need to have money, we need to have income. So there was always a struggle, and the silent thing was huge in my house. My parents were divorced, from when I was 6.5, and my dad didn't want any information about money, not only going outside of the house, but not going anywhere near my mom. My dad didn't want my mom to know how much he was making and what, and boy, is that right. We can also get caught in the triangulation, right, of parental energies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or like also, just in general, like I've been through a, inheritance situation where, the other side of the family who'd never been a part but was getting equal cut, like everyone was getting equal cut, showed up and tried to push us out, right? And it was like, they had never been a part of the family, but it was all evenly split. It didn't matter, right? Like, but they wanted more, right? And so they showed up all of a sudden to become interested. And it's like so funny because like I remember having an argument with the money guy, and he was like, well, they really want to be a part of the family and care. And I'm like, are you an idiot? Like, people don't show up at the last minute because they really care. Come on, like, that's stupid.
Yeah. Well, so we have a couple of questions.
Okay, great.
The first one, so it's Angela Parker asks,
hi, Angela.
What happens if you don't have an agent to negotiate the rate?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, if you don't have an agent to negotiate the rate, then you need to be very clear about what the rate is. You also need to be really a good negotiator. You know, you need to be able to ask for what you want, and negotiate it above scale, right? That's what an agent would do. I mean, a good agent. There's a lot of bad agents out there too, but you need to know what your bottom line is, what the union says your bottom line is for the thing, and know what that is, and know if you're going to settle for the bottom line or you're going to ask for a bump.
The next question is, so Elinska Alona, how do you know who you're looking for to cast? Because I heard it from you not once. There's no information about it on IMDb. How do you know who are they looking for to cast? So I say, how do you know who's being looked for in terms of casting? Because I heard it from you not once. There's no information about it on IMDb Pro. I mean, when you're reaching out with director casting, et cetera, how can we find this info? So you're asking, like, how do you find what roles are?
Okay, I was like so taken aback because I'm like, what? This you're just asking me a question. The first thing that I would say is, like, you need to schedule a private with Sarah. Sarah, can you put your link in the chat? Because first of all, that's not what this webinar is about, and I'm happy to answer that for you. But that's a huge question that you just asked. It's what my clients do every day. It's what we work with our clients on. So it's not something that I can probably answer just right now. Exactly. I mean, in order to be a good actor and understand what's happening out there in the world, you need to be reading Deadline every day. At least once or twice a week, you need to read Deadline or IMDb Pro, the reading part. Like, hey, did you know that Todd Haynes died?
No.
Yes. Speaking of what's on IMDb Pro today, yeah, Todd Haynes died. He was 66.
Oh.
Yeah. So you need to be aware of what's happening. And so then you can be pitching yourself to people that are going to hire people like you. So we're talking about the long game here. We're not talking about the short game. You can't steal the breakdowns anymore, right? Because he'll sue you. And he's a terrible, mean, awful, terrible person. That's the owner of Actors Access. I don't know if you ever could steal them from Spotlight, but for a long time, people stole them from Actors Access, but then he got crazy and started suing people. So he's not a nice person. But the good news of that is that system, Actors No Access, is 51, 52 years old. That's an old system. It's going to go out very shortly. And plus he'll die. So, no great loss. Sorry, just true. So it'll be a new system, right? But I would highly recommend that you talk to Sarah, because I think you just need to have a conversation about that. That's like, we work a long time with people on that.
So,
okay, right.
So the next question.
Mark Schottner goes hilarious, Valerie.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Hi, Mark Schottner.
That's funny. Hey guys.
I'm sorry.
So an anonymous attendee said, would you suggest to have jobs you hate to get rid of debt, or just focus on your acting career knowing it will work out? I want to take a little stab at that.
Okay, please do.
So first of all, it's really interesting language to say jobs you hate.
Yes.
Because there's all kinds of opportunity out in the world for all kinds of things. I don't recommend treating acting career as a casino. In a casino.
What do you mean by that, James? That's really good. I like that.
The casino mentality is, I'm going to put money into the machine and hope I get more back, and then put more money in it, hope I get more back. Right? It's really tricky if we treat acting like a casino, where we're investing everything and we leave ourselves completely unsecured in the world. I think that I mean, this is my experience. You know, there are many ways to work as an actor. There are many ways to work as a non-actor. There are many ways to make money, whether you're in the acting profession or outside of it. And we need to know ourselves. How comfortable are we with the riskiness of it? How comfortable are we not having money? How comfortable, you know, like what's, it's really important that we relax in auditions. It's really important that we are able to come in from a relaxed place. If we're always in a panic around money, every audition you go to, you're going to be panicked. Every audition you go to, you're going to be stressed out. So we all come from different scenarios. So some people have money from their parents in their bank account, right? And they have a cushion. You know, kudos to them. Great, fantastic. That was not my reality. I had to have a job to pay the bills and to support myself all through college, all through graduate school, and as an actor on the outside, you know, I have to have ways of making money that make it possible for me to support my acting career in a way that's comfortable. So now there are lots of different ways to work. I would recommend finding a job that doesn't destroy you. So if you're going to have a support job, a day job that supports your acting career, find something that lifts you up, or that gives you enough,
Exactly.
you know, enough financial support that you're not in a panic, but it doesn't destroy you, not exhausted. So this is a little story about when I got out of graduate school. This was 1995. I had a job in a law firm, and for the first 3 years, I worked the overnight shift. But during the daytime, I was auditioning, and I didn't book anything for 3 years. At the end of, or it was, I'm exaggerating, but you know, I wasn't booking much, right? And one of my friends saw me after I'd had a week off, and my friend said, "Wow, you look rested for the first time in years." And I thought, well, that's why nobody was casting me. I looked exhausted. So
I also like that one where you realized that you were so nervous and then you were getting an espresso every day before your audition.
oh yeah, I was going I was going in auditions, and I was feeling nervous in the auditions. So I was like, I've never felt nervous in it. What's going on? And I sort of went back in time and looked at, like, what am I doing differently? And I realized that I was living across the street from this fantastic little Italian cookie bake shop where they served espressos, and every morning I was having an espresso, and of course, you know, that was having an impact on my auditions, because I was nervous and sweaty, and you know, so yeah.
Yeah, I also want to talk about, like, there's a lot of ways as an actor now, more than ever before, to make money, right? Like, you can make money from your YouTube, you can make money from TikTok, you can make money from so many different things under the voiceover roof, right? From audiobooks to commercials to that sort of thing. So I feel like, you know, I have a few clients that have really set a good foundation for themselves, making money in voiceovers or audiobooks or commercials or TikTok or YouTube. They've made money doing those things, which allows them to pursue what they really want to do in their acting business, feeling happy about that. And some people that I know that make, like, literally hundreds and thousands of dollars, a lot of them have just ended up just doing that and then traveling the world and doing other things that they want, because that was enough for them and it got their creative juices appeased, right? So I do think that there's a lot of ways to make money in the acting world that there wasn't when I was young at all. And so that's one thing I want to point out. And the other thing is like, be good at whatever you do, love whatever you do. I was the best waiter in New York City.
I believe,
I was.
I know it's true. I know you, I know it's true.
I was really good at it, and I love food. And so for me, working in good food restaurant and I have a great palate. I have a very highly trained palate. I've eaten all over the world. I've eaten at the best restaurants in the world. That's what my husband and I spend our money on. We spend our money on food, right? And so for me, it's a joy to work in a restaurant. I love that. Like, it was fun, right? I don't think I could do it anymore because my brain, but because you have to have a certain kind of organizing brain, right? But I don't think you should do anything in your life that you hate. I think I wouldn't, some things are uncomfortable, right? Like some things we have to take on in our lives are uncomfortable, but I don't think you should do anything in your life that you hate on a regular basis. I think that's not good, right? Like, find the thing that brings you joy besides acting,
That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, I drove for a limousine service for a while.
Yeah.
And I actually really love driving.
Yeah.
Like I love being in the car. I love driving. And the Uber, Lyft, like the taxi services, there are ways to make money doing that. And there's so many ways to make money. The other thing is, this requires identifying what you like and don't like, which takes us all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, right? We have to identify what's going on inside of us, and so what's okay for you? Evans for Micah said, I'm going to follow my pole dancing dream. Not good. That's good. I actually know someone who's a pole dancer who teaches pole dancing, and she loves it. She loves, so whatever floats your boat. So Taurine Garrick says, I'd like to stop working as a teaching assistant. Should I just leave? I don't have another source of income. And then she said, I think, James, you're answering my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're a teaching assistant. You don't. I mean, it's tricky, right?
Yeah.
I would like not to need money.
Yeah.
But I do need money. So there's a difference between hating something and not liking it, right? We might not prefer to have to make money that way. I mean, I would much rather be a series regular on a show than to do some of the jobs that I've had to do in my lifetime. But this is the balance of adulthood, I think.
Yeah. I also think that sometimes it takes a while to find the thing that we enjoy doing. I mean, like, sometimes I do these meditations and they'll, with Deepak Chopra and stuff, and they'll say, like, go down and ask yourself, what do you want? Like, what do you want? And for a long time, I never really was able to answer that question. Right. And so I think that you have to give yourself a break and say, like, what makes me happy, and what do where can I find joy, right? Yeah, I don't know.
I think another path towards that, which is a little more devious, is to ask, who do I envy?
Oh, yeah.
Because there are these moments where, like, we see someone get a teaching job, or we see someone get a directing job, or we see, and we feel a little bit of pang of envy.
Yeah.
We need to pay attention to that pang of envy, because it's not about them, it's about us.
Yeah.
The pang of envy is not about the other person's success. It's about something we need to recognize in ourselves and own.
Yeah.
So another sort of clue to what kind of work you might want to do if you weren't acting, or if you want to support your acting career, is to pay attention to anybody that you've had a little pang of envy around. So Maggie Egan Cummings said, I've had all kinds of jobs. I always tried to do such a great job in that position, and then would negotiate time off for auditions and acting work. That always worked for me. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
So
Yeah.
Bridget Miller, or
Yeah.
Millar, sorry, Miller. Hi, Val, hi, James. Michael Caine once said in one of his acting workshops that everyone buys a yacht when they see the rushes and goes broke at the premiere. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's very funny. I think that the way in which that impacts us is that, I mean, to ground it a little more in sort of daily life, when we get a big job and cash comes in, we have to recognize that cash coming in represents all of the time that we've put into the work up to that point.
Yeah.
So we have to begin to we have to find a rule for ourselves that works. This percentage of that money goes towards paying off debt. This percentage is usable now. This percentage is long-term, savings. And it requires discipline, because I mean, God, there's so many stories of people who had a hit series or had some big thing, and then you hear that they're broke.
Yeah. And
I'm like, what were you thinking? like you had all that money coming in, but there was no planning around
no.
the dry season,
Yeah. I mean, I think that is like me. You're talking about me. I'm someone that likes immediate gratification. Like, I'm someone that, never was really able to think about the future. And now I'm in the future and I'm like, well, fuck, I should have thought of the future. Right. And so now I'm doing the work that, but it is what it is. Like, it's learning I mean, I've had a great life. I'm not complaining, like I've taken some amazing trips. I have a house, there's things I have, but like, I just is like, I'm like, oh yeah, I was someone that didn't really think about, the future and like what I would need really for the future. So one of the things that I say about that is these automatic savings things. Like, I use Ally Bank, and it's really good because Ally Bank removes the money, and then it also has a really good ALLY. It has a really good interest rate.
So this is ALLY
Bank? ALLY, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Another thing for anyone in the acting industry, the Actors Federal Credit Union and SAG, I think SAG-AFTRA has a credit union.
Uh-huh.
Credit unions tend to have much better percentage rates than the corporate banks. And in that regard, that goes for credit cards as well as investment accounts. So another part of this too is, pay attention. I mean, I know there's a lot of the stuff that Valorie probably talks to you guys in other situations, but we need to know the interest rates of our credit cards. Like, we actually need to know, because the one that we want to pay off first is the highest interest rate of a credit card.
Yeah.
And
so the APR on Ally right now is 3.75.
Yeah.
That's good, you guys.
Yeah.
That's a good interest rate. So, that's good. And I make it like automatic withdrawal. So it just withdraws every, and so I do that because, I was like a lot of us, like I got to the COVID and I didn't have an emergency account.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it.
Now, I mean, the other thing, like I remember myself as a younger actor where I had no cushion. And so if I put myself in that mindset, the question that I would ask the two of us is, what if I'm living bottom of my bank account, like I'm just hitting bottom.
Yeah.
Like how do I get out of that cycle? Like, so if I put myself back in the beginning of my being in New York City, where I literally, like, every month I was negotiating, what to pay, what not to pay,
Yeah.
what thing, how do you break free of that cycle? And I mean, I know that I know what I did. And
What did you do?
what I did was I found a job in the corporate world that was flexible enough. From I was doing word processing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was good enough at that they were okay, changing my schedule. And I wasn't so valuable. Like, I was a cog in the wheel. I wasn't. They weren't relying on me personally to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They needed someone in that chair. So I found a job that gave me flexibility and enough income.
Right.
And I know that's not always easy to find that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not always easy to find it, but this is, it's part of our job. We have to figure that out. And I mean, you found waitering, which is which I wasn't a very good waiter, but I was a really good word processor, right?
Yeah.
So we have to find the thing that works for us. So Nasera, I'm not going to get your name right, but Bugarara. If you're on a tight budget and have to choose between two, what is the best to invest your money? Acting classes or casting director workshops? Acting classes or casting director workshops?
I don't think either one, to be honest. I mean, I do think that you should study acting, but like here's the thing, because I've been working with actors in the business of acting for a million years, I've seen this over and over and over again. Most actors say, I want to be a professional actor, I want to make money acting, I want to make a living acting, but yet they're not doing anything about that. They're over here taking an acting class, studying acting, getting new headshots, looking for an agent, which is not really directly, it is part of this, but it's not going to get you this. The thing that you should be doing on a regular basis is looking for acting work, paid acting work. So going to a casting workshop is just putting money in casting directors' pockets, which are losing their jobs. More and more is getting cast without casting directors. That's why they're doing the casting workshops, because they need money. They don't have if they're doing casting workshops all the time, that means they're not making money casting. So I would not be doing casting workshops. The only time I ever tell my actors to do casting workshops is like Anna's on here. So Anna's doing casting workshops at Mixing Networks in London. The reason she's doing that is because I've been working with her for a year and a half, and we have a plan afoot, right? So she's been getting meetings with people, and she happens to be in London. So we figured, like, let's get to know those people by doing that. But she's also doing specific things around those people. It's not like we're just doing that, right? And so a lot of times actors are doing casting workshops thinking that that's going to get you acting jobs. Not if you're just doing casting workshops. It's not going to get you jobs. So I personally don't think either one of those I'd be spending money on. I'd be spending money on your outreach and building your business and your outreach to your customer bases. That's what I would be spending money
on. So Roy Mason, I'm going
to.
So Roy, raise a long question. I've been doing behind the scenes work, film and TV for 2 years now. I realized I have no cushion. I have no rainy day fund. I don't have the basic financial savings to reach the USA in the time frame I'd like to. I'm not even able to comfortably afford getting a film clip for 400. Some cut of the government credit I was getting has been a really big blow. Considering 9 to 5 to build towards the career that I want, but there's a big sadness and grief from attempting to do that. Sure, I could get a project management certification, some sort of broker license, say for a year or two while working on the behind the scenes of the industry, but then I wouldn't be a working actor. But I'm at a point where I might need to take a step back. I'm looking at the positive side of maybe taking evening classes in London and maybe going back to Japan with what I've learned. How do you deal with grief? And he followed up by saying, I think, James, you're answering my question. So I feel for you around the grief. That's really hard. You know, these moments are really hard, but it's just a moment. And if we understand that the grief is just part of the journey, grief is not an end point. So the difficulty you're feeling is not the end point. It's just a moment in the journey. Finding a way to come out of the grief might also involve having a job that gives you enough financial support that you relax a little bit. It's not a failure. You have not failed as an actor because you had to do another kind of work. That's every actor I know, with very rare exceptions, because they started out with lots of money, like, they inherit a lot of money. Every actor I know has to have some kind of job that they go to when the pickings are slim in terms of their acting career. And this is professional, everybody, right? We have to find ways to support ourselves in the times that are more challenging. And that's not a failure. It's really important. One of the ways that I define success as an actor is that we keep going.
Oh my God, that's so true. And what you said about it's not the end, it's part of the journey. Roy, that's so important what James said, because I think about people that commit suicide. And I think about those moments when you're in despair, when I'm in despair, where that's a thought to do, and then the next day you might have a really good day and you feel really great and you're like, thank God I didn't kill myself, and I think that when we're at that desperate grief, dark place, right? Which I'm very clear about, that one of the things that we should always do for ourselves in that moment is take ourselves out of where we're sitting, what we're thinking, and what we're doing, and go take a nap, go exercise, go to the park with your dog, go watch a movie and get a bucket of popcorn, go do something that is to walk away from it, because this too shall pass. And I think about, it breaks my heart, but I think about Twitch, the dancer that at Christmas time he killed himself. He left a beautiful wife and 2 children, and and I don't know why, but I know that in that moment where you make that decision, that if you keep going, that the light soon will rise and you'll be through to the next part of your journey. It's like, it's like even in the shadow of the valley of the shadow of death, it's like all of life is that, right? And it's how we deal with this that makes us the person that we are. And also I mean, I'm seeing a naturalist because I'm trying to deal with my emotional life through a natural way, and food and what I put into my body and taking care of my body, because all of those things are connected to my mental well-being.
Yeah.
But it's rough. I've been there this year. That's where I've been. Most of the year is in a dark place, right? So I can really relate to that. And figuring out, like, I know it will pass, and I know I'll get to the other side, and I know it'll be okay. But there are times where I'm like, fuck this shit. Right? Like, fuck this shit. Right? And on top of it, like, for all you guys that are like coming to America, why do you want to come here? If you really say that, you are not listening to the news. You are not reading the newspaper. You are not aware of what is literally happening in this country, right? So be aware of that. I mean, that's causing a lot of my despair. It's really sad. It's really sad. You know, innocent people are being shot every day here. Innocent people are being shot here every day. It's not a safe place to be. So if I were you, and by the way, everything is not shooting here now. Hello? Like go to Romania. That's where it all is. I mean, there's like 17 million shows there right now. You know, it's crazy. So just be really aware of that. You know, I think I always used to think, oh my, I'm so lucky to be American. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not so much now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely. I think that being realistic about this country is important.
It is.
Right. It's the United States is not a panacea. It doesn't.
No, it is
doesn't,
not.
doesn't solve problems. But it's okay. It's okay if you want to come here. But
I'll trade places.
So Frida Alberg says, I use Backstage to look for work in acting. However, there's also lots of other jobs like modeling, voiceover, etc. Are you familiar with Backstage? So if you do think it's a good place to find work on your
yeah, I mean, Backstage, Actors Access, Mandy, casting networks, it's all the same. It's all the same. Right. Are you going to find stuff there? Yeah. Are you going to find stuff there? Yeah. There's actually a girl on TikTok that has all these things. She makes all this money as an actress, and she completely just uses like those platforms to get work as an actress. Do I think that you're going to get your dream role in a dream TV show or movie by using those things? Absolutely not. They're not there. That's not where they are. That's not where they located. I also think that you need to be playing the long game, and the long game is building relationships with people that you want to work with.
I agree with you completely. And what I would add to that is that when people are looking for a support job,
yeah,
it's useful to ask the question, is there a job I can do that allows me to meet more people, puts me in touch with more people in the industry? Is there a job that like if you have skills with computer, like film and TV editors make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't have to stop acting. You can say, you can take a job and do film editing or TV editing, and then you can go back to it again.
Yeah.
So another question to ask is like, is this work taking me completely away from what I dream about, or is this work taking me in the right direction? Like, am I, but these are all questions that we have to ask ourselves over time as well.
Yeah. I mean, I also think having other skill sets is a good idea, like learning film editing or gaffing or something where you can make money, but you also have another set that you can always lean back on and make money if you need to make money. I think that's really smart. And I have a client that works in a casting office, right? And she works for a casting director, which allows her a lot of, she has a better idea that that the people she's dealing with are just human beings, number one. Right? Like it doesn't affect her. But I also think, you know, it also puts her in the mix. But at the same time, I know people that have, you know, great waiter jobs or host jobs in really high-end restaurants, and they get really high-end clients that go there. Yeah.
So Roy asked to follow up. He said, I've never had an office job in the West. Do people judge you or outright not hire you if you're an actor? No, there are many people in many creative fields who work in office jobs in the West. I mean, the West being here in the United States. You know, when I first started out working for a law firm, the whole group of people all working in the word processing were dancers, painters, writers, actors. We were all artists. So, you know, it's just about finding, it's about finding a place that is okay with you being who you are, right? Which is the challenge for all of us anyway in life.
Yeah.
But there are, I think that office jobs in the United States generally understand that the people who are support staff are people who are doing something else as well.
Look, in America right now, most people have multiple jobs.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. So most people have multiple jobs. And so, you know, teachers aren't just teachers. Teachers are also Uber drivers and
pole dancers.
Pole dancers. Right? Because you can't live on a teacher salary in America.
Right.
Because we don't value our teachers. So, you know, they have to do other things. And so it's expected. People have like, people are multi jobs now.
Yeah. The old idea of a full-time job, like the old idea of full-time job was 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. And now we have full-time jobs. We have a job that's 9 to 5. We have a job that's this. We have a job that, you know,
background work is fine. Look, if you guys are doing background work, there's nothing wrong with background work.
No, absolutely not.
Background work is a great job to do, especially if you show up as an actor, smart, ready, you know something about the show you're on, you've watched episodes, you know who the creator is, you know who the director is, you know who the actors are, you know what they've done. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. Knowledge is power, right? And so if you show up to set, do not hang out with the people that are complaining.
Yes. Do
not hang out with them, right? And hang out with the positive people. I mean, I always say that about Actors Fast Track. It's like the huge amount of what Actors Fast Track does for people is keep you in the positive and keep you moving forward, because it's a group mentality thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, like Reese Witherspoon says, there's 3 kind of people that pull you up, people that are neutral, and people that are pulling you down. You've got to stay away from the people that pull you down.
I call people that pull you down vampires.
Yes.
Right. We have to be careful with vampires.
Yes.
Because they'll pull us down and suck our blood and then leave us, you know, drained.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, you know, when you go to an audition, if you've ever had this experience where you go to an audition and there's famous people in the waiting room auditioning for the same part that you're auditioning from, the thing that the thing that I learned how to do is I learned how to stay in my own lane. And focus on my job that I had to do and not compare myself to others, because that's like, and so same with background work. When you go on background work, there's always going to be the group of people that are complaining, you know, making sure that they're getting their extra time and this and that. You like stay by yourself, take plenty of books to read, take plenty of things to do, and be aware of what's happening.
So, it's now, we're over the hour. But there's some people who joined later.
Okay.
And I want to go back to the top of the conversation, because Valorie read her mantras. I think that we should go back to them as a sort of, before we end the call, we should revisit them just to sort of say, hey, each one of us can create mantras for ourselves. We can create something that supports us. So going back to your mantras, Valorie.
Yeah.
I-
I'll read a few things that I read to myself literally every day. And I look at every day and I read out loud every day. Making money is easy. I can make more without working more. There is plenty of money to go around. I can make more money than I have ever before made. And I can make more and still do what I love. Obviously this book, You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, Sincero. If you've never done any work on money, please start with this. I also wrote down the 5 reasons that I am pursuing this money education. So my goal, my stand for 2023 was to become a financial genius. So what I do is I spend at least 2 hours a week watching videos on investing, budgeting, right? All these things, right? And I read these things to myself every week when I do that work.
You know what would be great, Valorie?
Yeah.
If we might create like a place where people can check in, where people put down books that they've read or videos to watch, like a check-in place. If someone finds something that's really exciting, or even put it into the thread in Actors Fast Track Facebook.
Yeah, so I Love Actors is our public Facebook group, and that would be a great thing to have a conversation about there. We're also going to do a money course this year. We are currently, for you guys that don't know, we just started Chat GPT for actors. It's the only course out there. How do I use AI to move my career forward? If you would like to get that course, you can still get that course. We're teaching it live. And so if you would like to get that, we would love to have you join us for that. Sarah, can you put the link for anyone that wants to join us for the Chat GPT course? But one of our next courses is going to be a money course for actors. So here's my 5 reasons that I'm becoming a financial genius. So I can be super smart around money. I want to travel to every place on my bucket list. 3, I want to have more money to help out my mom and my sister. 4, I want to give to charity more than I do now. And number 5, I want enough money for my future. So when I go, why am I doing this? And with that being said, you should also do that for your acting career. You should write down why you're doing this, what it is that you want, what the vision is, and you need to read it every day. You need to put it out there somewhere where you see it, because it's not easy. So when it gets tough, you need to know, why am I doing this? What's the dream? What do I want?
That's so genius, Val. That's so powerful. And it goes back to what we're talking about despair.
Yeah.
Right. If we can return again to why am I doing this? Oh yeah. What am I, what I'm going through this hard time because my vision is a time in the future when I feel expansive and supported.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so important. So important to have that vision.
Yeah. And also, the other thing that I have is I have a boss persona. And for you guys that took LinkedIn 3, we told you should definitely have an actor boss persona, right? If you should definitely have an actor boss persona, right? And so one of the things that we had everyone do when we were teaching LinkedIn 3 is we had them write down an actor boss persona. And so they would read this persona before they would get on LinkedIn, and ask producers and directors and showrunners for meetings, they would put on their boss hat, we called it. And we had them write a persona thing that they read, and that they created an environment where they did the work and where they treated themselves like a boss, like, I have this, like boss lady, right? And so we asked them to do that. So this is my boss persona for money. Valorie Boss Hubbard. She treats money like a boss. She's in charge and she makes it work for her. She's a fun boss who has a blast playing with money, and the relationship has been super inspiring with knowledge. Her boss smart, she's thoughtfully and easily makes and grows my money. She so much that people ask her for advice, which is another way to make money. She is giving, she supports with glee her family, her friends, Black Lives Matter, gay rights, and her and Gilbert travel the world first class.
I love it.
That's my boss.
I love it.
So, like, when you sit down to reach out to casting directors, producers, and writers, find that boss self of yours. Because, like, who's going to hire someone that's exhausted, as you said, James, not completely standing in their value of what they have to offer as an actor, confident? No one's going to hire that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's so this is a side note.
Yeah.
But if someone is an HSP, a highly sensitive person, which many of us actors are, having those personas is really important, because our inner default tends to be trying to take care of everybody else. But the boss persona doesn't take care of everybody else. The boss persona knows the boss takes care of self first. So that idea of using the persona like that is really fantastic. I love it. I love it.
All right.
So here we are.
Yes.
And you guys, we're out of questions. Our Q&A
more questions.
Our Q&A channel is empty. Yeah, the chat GPT, I know this is not what we're talking about today, but the chat GPT sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Well, it was Jordan, that came to me and said, Valorie, this chat GPT thing is like, and no one else is teaching it. So it was really exciting. So it's the first class that Jordan has written for Actors Biz School. And
that's great.
It's fun, so yeah, she brings her crazy Jordan to the mix. So yeah, it's really good. Do you take a break from the boss persona? When do you use it? Anytime I'm doing something that's scary, I use the boss persona.
So the other way, there's another way of thinking about like boss persona, and I'll tell you guys the example. When I learned to drive the car and I wanted to get my license, my dad was my teacher as a driver, and my dad was like, no, stop, like, all right. So my experience of my learning with my dad was like, stop the terrified driver, right? And I was like, that won't work. When I go to take the driver exam, I can't be that person. And so I thought about who in my life was completely relaxed about driving. And one of my friends in high school, Peter was so relaxed as a driver. Early on, his dad had taught him, his mom had taught him, and he learned to drive before anyone else in my class. He had learned to drive, and he would drive people home after parties and dances, and he would just, like, he had a station wagon. He would drive people home. He was totally relaxed. So when I went into my driver's test, I imagined that I was Peter.
There you go. That's an acting job.
I imagined that I was Peter taking the test and how Peter would be relaxed and confident, not in a rush. And I passed without any trouble at all.
Yeah,
So-
Roy, another one was we used to, when I learned cold phone calling early in my acting career, like I had a friend that would put on a bikini. We were in New York. She'd put on a bikini, put on a lounge chair in her apartment in New York. She'd get like a drink with an umbrella coming out of it. And then she would call people pretending like she was by the pool and she was already a star.
That's great.
That's a boss persona.
That's fantastic.
Right. And so it's an acting job. So
That's right. That's
right. Like if you're like, well, I'm not confident. Well, someone that you play is confident and cocky. You know, oh my God. One time years ago, you guys, when I was working at this restaurant, I had this guy that I was working with, and he was kind of an ass. And he was like, Valorie, you're so good at this. Why don't I write a letter to this manager? It was like Sissy SpaceX manager. And he's like, and will you look at my letter? I'm like, yeah. So he wrote this letter, and it was totally cocky, you guys, like so over the top cocky. And I was like, yeah, it's good. Because I was like, oh, this is gonna. He sent the letter. The manager signed him the next day.
Wow.
And I really learned a valuable lesson there. People want to work with people that are cocky, right? They like you to have you have to be confident. Like, look at the Olympians. They have to be confident, right? You have to be confident to go out on ice and do a triple backflip, right? They have to be confident.
Yeah.
Right. And so even if like, my coach said to me, I don't care how you feel. You need to have lights shooting out of your eyes. That's what he said to me. And I was like, well, what if I can't have light shooting out of my eyes if I feel like shit? And I'm like, Valorie, you're an actress. Right? How many of us have been like, fuck you, show must go on. Hi, everyone. I mean, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
8 performances a week,
Yeah. And the other thing about that too is that every character that I've played, character make that energy vibrate in me more at that time. So like if I play a really funny character, that sort of sense of humor in me increases. If I play someone really stern, that side of me increases. So if we play the boss character regularly, we actually, that persona becomes more and more comfortable, right? We become more and more familiar with it. Just like if you're in rehearsal and you're rehearsing a character and the lines, that side of you gets stronger. So the other thing about this is don't expect that persona just to take off right away. Like, invest in it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the idea of the boss. I'm like, who's my boss? Oh my God, I want to play, like, that's so exciting. And you guys, it doesn't have to, just like Valerie's talking about someone in a bikini in their apartment in a lounge chair with a floral drink with a little umbrella. Like, our boss can be wacky. Our boss can be whatever we want the boss to be.
Yeah.
Like it's a character.
And you know what? The more that you do that, like the more I read those things, I had a meeting the other day with my mom's money guy. And I know you guys have had this experience where you're talking to an investment guy or someone, a money person, and they're talking about all this shit. And you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Where they're talking about like, well, the interest rate of the bonds would be like this if you blah, 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 blah. And you're like, and I remember that one of my money coaches along the way, you remember her, Robin, the money coach that I worked with, one of my money coaches along the way said that, she went to Harvard, and she said when she was growing up, people thought she was slow because she asked so many questions, but that was something that was good. And it made her really smart, and it made her she ended up handling the top 1%'s money. right? And I remember and after doing this work now since January, I mean, since really the end of October that I've been doing this work, but this boss persona and reading these things every week, when I was listening to the money guy, I was like, okay, all right, can you go back and explain what you mean by that? I found myself saying things like that, which I never would have done before. So I see how it's affecting me now. James froze. James froze. Oh no. But that's a nice freezy he's having. James, you froze. Wait.
I'm back.
Yeah. Anyway, I was telling them how like doing that work has created me now really listening in a new way to money people and really taking new action.
That's fantastic.
It's still not comfortable at times, but
no, but you said at the beginning of the conversation, you said that, to make changes, we have to go through discomfort.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay. You guys, we live in a society. We live in a society that that doesn't like discomfort.
Yeah.
We live in a society that where things are constantly being designed around us to remove any pain or any anxiety or discomfort. And the reality is that discomfort is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
We had, this discomfort is part of the journey. So
there's some creaking going on around here. I'm like, oh. So James, everything okay with your internet?
yeah, just having I'm sort of I'm in the office, so the office sometimes goes wacky. It's out of my control.
Cool.
There are things I can control and things I can't.
All right. Okay, cool. All right.
So
I think that's it then.
I think we did good.
I think we did great. We did great. So Sarah put her link in there if you guys want to talk to Sarah about working with us or anything like that, put it in there. For we have our client retreat this weekend. And we are going to be talking about money. So we have a special coach coming to talk about that, and we're going to be talking about mindset and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that this weekend. And so for you clients, I'll see you all this weekend at our virtual retreat. I'm excited about that. And it was great talking to you, James.
You too, Val. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on the third Thursday of the month, and we will see you guys next month on the third Thursday of the month with James and I. And thank you for joining us today.
Yay.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.